Hey there yarn lovers, it's Gary from Urban Yarn and I'm coming here today to talk to you about a review of yarn that I received from Hobbii. I will be reviewing this yarn throughout the month of January 2023. My contact did reach out to me before Christmas and asked me to select 3 of the categories of yarn to review, and I jumped at the chance. So thank you Hobbii for sending me this package. Now it did arrive to me before Christmas. I'm just getting to it now and give you my best description of how I'm finding the yarnies working up. So I hope that you'll sit back and relax while in the next few minutes we talk about the yarn as well as work up some projects together. The first one that I'm pulling out here, super excited for this one, is the Hobbii Woody Tweed. This is ranked high on my list of wanting to review for the longest time, so I wanted to get my hands on this, to feel the yarn, to work with it. So let's take a look at the details here on the label. 100 grams in each of the balls, 350 meters, 382 yards. It's considered a light worsted DK or a number 3 weight yarn. The contents is 70% recycled wool, 30% recycled viscose. It's machine washable, and they're suggesting here to lay flat to dry. The recommended needle sizes is 3.5 millimeters, and the hook size for crochet is 4.5 millimeters. This color that I'm holding here is anthracite. There are 16 colors in the collection. Let's take a look at the strands and how they're constructed. What I'm seeing here is there is a little bit of fuzz involved in this, so it will be interesting to see whether this actually frogs back okay once it's being used in crochet or knit. And yeah, let's take a look at the rest of the colors. I don't feel any scratchiness involved in this yarn at all. A confession, I just took out all of the balls of this collection, the Woody Tweed, and my contact at Hobbii has generously gifted me all of the color choices in the full range. So I've got the 16 here. Let's run through them. We have orange, very earthy, relates nicely with all of the colors that are in this collection. There's navy, beautiful and deep and rich. Denim, kind of pastel-y and earthy like the orange as well. Brown, very dark. I would say this is almost black. It needs the right kind of light to see it. Light green. Light pink. Now, some of these colors I've never used before, so I'm very eager to try them out and see what I can do with them. Dark gray. Yellow. Oh, fun. Like, who doesn't like yellow? This would be great as the pop of color. Blue. Dark green. One of my favorite colors. Light gray. Now this would be great for cables. White. Pink. Another fantastic color that I don't use often. Nougat. And for the red lovers, there is also a vibrant red. Look at this collection all laid out together. There are so many things going through my mind right now. I do have an inkling of what I'm thinking of doing. Out of the bag comes the next collection I'll be talking about, and it is called Hobbii Rainbow Bamboo. I've been eager to try this yarn for the very longest time. Now in hand, I have 2 words that spring to mind, and it is very sleek and soft. Let's look at the ball band and I'll tell you what this is made up of. So each ball is 100 grams, offering up 250 meters, translating to 273 yards. It is a 2 weight yarn, which is a fine sport weight. The fibers are 60% bamboo, viscose, and 40% cotton. Super duper soft. The care instructions are easy. You can machine wash this if you like and lay flat to dry. Recommended size needles 3 to 3.5 millimeters or a crochet hook of 3 millimeters. It does have the Oeko-Tex certified stamp of approval, which means it's been tested against harmful substances. The fibers are very well put together. There is a high twist on this shiny, very robust yarn. I am tugging on each of the ends and I'm finding that there is no give in the yarn. It is quite a sleek and sturdy yarn. There are 40 colors in this collection. I think my stomach may have been playing a little bit of havoc with my choices here in color. So I have these colors: almond, curry, ginger, mushroom, artichoke. The last collection that I'm going to be talking about is Hobbii Unicorn Solids. They do have a Hobbii Unicorn hand painted, which is speckly and multicolored. The first feel of this yarn is that it is soft. I'm going to rate it at 4 out of 5, 5 being the softest of yarns. So it rates pretty highly. It is not scratchy. The ply is a high twist and it's a very plumped yarn. Let's read about what's on the label and give you the details. It is 100 grams in each of the hanks, offering up 400 meters, which translates to 437 yards. It is classified a number 1 weight, which is super fine fingering weight yarn. They are saying here that you can wash this on a gentle wool cycle and lay flat to dry for your care instructions. The recommended needle size for knitting is 2.5 to 4 millimeters, or crochet hook size is 3 millimeters to 4 millimeters. So I have these colors: seafoam, light gray, mustard, green tea. It does have the Oeko-Tex stamp of certification and is tested against harmful substances. There's a lanolin feel that comes with this yarn. To touch, it feels that it's been coated with the oils that have come out of the yarn itself during the shearing and the spinning. And I really like that. It gives that rustic reminder of where the yarn originated from. Here I am working up my first project using the Hobbii Woody Tweed. I'm doing a two-tone granny square. I've been inspired by a pattern that I found online called Postcard from Sweden. It is designed by Button Ship, and this pattern was originally a quilt pattern from 2014, and the quilt designer was Kelly Liddel. And I'm really enjoying working this up. I'm finding that the squares are taking me around 15 minutes per square, doing 5 rows. And I'm playing around with all the different colors that were packed into this little package. And I'm finding what I can do with all the various colorways. So I'm super excited about this project. I don't know whether I'm going to be doing a blanket or whether I'll be doing some type of runner for the table or a bag. I'm just making these squares and I'll put them all together to see what I can do with them at the end. I'm using a metal 3.75 millimeter crochet hook from Susan Bates. I did try a bamboo hook, but I found that the yarn was a bit fluffy and it was creating drag when I was crocheting. So I did play around with hooks and what type of material would work best using my tool. I'm rating this yarn 4 out of 5 for frog friendly, 5 being the most friendliest to frog. And that surprised me because this yarn has a little bit of a halo to it and I thought it might catch up on itself, but it didn't. And I am only doing a double crochet through the two-tone granny squares, but I'm not finding any difficulty in frogging it back. Off to the side there, you can see some blocked squares. I wet blocked these and they worked out nicely. This yarn is very forgiving in that it will stretch and block to the size or shape that you want. A special note worth mentioning on this yarn is when you're using a single strand and you're wanting to tighten up or pull on a tail end, it does have the tendency to snap quite easily. But after working this into a fabric, like this granny square, it is quite a sturdy fabric. The next patterns that I'm going to be working up are using Hobbii Rainbow Bamboo. The one that you see me working on here is the knitted pattern called Punctuated, which is a cowl design by Leslie Weber. Now I've altered this a little bit so that I have enough yarn to do another project in crochet and get the best of both worlds. This is a stranded color work that I'm working on, and I found that the get-go of this pattern was a little challenging, but hopefully with some of these tips and tricks you'll have the best start possible if you choose this yarn. Because it was a sleek yarn, I found that my stainless steel knitting needles that I'm using here from Chagu, 3.5 millimeters, was a little slippy, and when I paired it with the circular set of needles that the pattern tells me to pair it with, I found that there wasn't enough space for all of my stitches, and I found stitches were just falling off the metal slippy needles. My suggestion would be to pair a circular worked project with the same circumference of cable so that you're not bunching up stitches, and if you are working in the flat, to overextend with a cable that's longer so that your work can slip and slide freely without coming off the needles. Otherwise, if you wanted to choose a wooden or bamboo needle, then that would be an alternative to keeping your stitches on. In this crochet pattern, I'm using the Hobbii Rainbow Bamboo to do this granny clustered ripple chevron, and I'm creating a narrow scarf. I'm really liking how it's working up. My 3.5 millimeter metal hook is gliding through this, so the project is just slipping off the hook, and I'm loving the stitch definition. The sheen on this is wonderful. It's cool to touch, and the fabric would be good for a warmer climate. With this open style stitch work that I'm doing, I think it's going to breathe very, very well. So if you're living in those warmer climates and want to accessorize, this would be a good yarn to choose. I'm giving this yarn a 5 out of 5 for frog friendly. As you can tell, it is quite a slippy yarn, and having to work with it was a bit of a difficulty, but frogging is definitely not. The last project that I'm going to be talking about uses the Hobbii Unicorn Solid, and it is a knit pattern called Cat Shawl by Kelly McClure, and I've decided to hold 2 strands of this yarn together, so each of the cakes 50 grams that I caked up from the hanks, and I'm marling and also creating a fade. This is a wonderful pattern to test the basic garter, stockinette and eyelet stitches, and I'm really enjoying it. It is quite a plump fabric that it's making up and very squishy holding it double. I'm using my 4mm stainless steel Chagu interchangeable set and paired it with a 50-inch cable, enough for this shawl to grow longer and longer, as much as it needs to for me to work through the pattern. And there was no splitting when I worked with this yarn, which was very nice and delightful. And when I frogged this back on a sample that I had knitted up, it frogged back very nicely. So I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 for being frog friendly. I want to thank you for joining me on this journey, and also Hobbii for sending me this yarn to review. I really had a lot of fun choosing the types of patterns that I wanted to work them up and see how the yarn was going to hold up and stand up against a good rigorous testing. And if you'd like to see what becomes of these projects, I will be featuring the makes, following up with what I am up to in the process of each of these projects here on Urban Yarn, and join in on all the fun in the next couple of episodes. I'll look forward to seeing you then. Thank you again. Bye now.